All right. Welcome to Turtlebird Reviews. Today we're going to be doing a tier list of all of the X-Men movies. And we're going to be determining which ones are better and which ones are like the rest. So,
Yeah, okay.
We have our tier list maker here, and it's on all the X-Men films. So, for the record, we did not watch Dark Phoenix
or the New Mutants.
And
we're not including Deadpool in this.
We're not including Deadpool. Yeah. But everything else is here.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
The first movie released was X-Men. What would you say?
I mean...
It's not... I mean, that's the thing is, like, it's really of its time. The first 2 or 3 X-Men films are very...
Well, all of them
they're very campy.
Yeah, they're all super campy. And the thing is, my favorite, like, bad thing about them are all the stuntmen on lines or ropes or whatever you call it.
Yeah,
cables.
where they pull them on the cable really hard, and it does not look like a real jump. Yeah, it's
and
like...
they're all of their little, like... jump in the air, being thrown back.
Yeah.
All of them look like that. They're super floaty and just...
The stunts are pretty hilarious.
Super campy.
But it's a lot of fun. I don't know. They did a pretty good job with it for the time. And this was made like before the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So the original X-Men, if we're going to compare it to the other X-Men films, it's honestly, like if you're fine with the campiness, it's one of the better ones, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, if we're...
I'd say probably B or A. What do you think?
Honestly, I don't think any of the other, like, the main trilogy ones are better. I don't think...
No? So would you do A or B?
I don't know.
I would say B.
It's, probably B. Either A or B.
So X2. What do you think?
X2? Because of the ending, C.
Yeah, I would say C as well. So the thing at the end of X2...
Are we doing spoilers? Is it fine?
Yeah, we're doing spoilers.
Yeah.
We're absolutely doing spoilers. Jean sacrifices herself for literally no reason. It's
suddenly
really
she has to go outside of the plane to control it. I don't know. Her powers are super...
It's vague up until that point. It's a little bit contrived, and it doesn't feel like a very good conclusion.
The other super crazy thing about that one is the dude who does the visions, Jason. They just leave him. They don't. He dies there, I assume.
So he's being used by the bad guy, Magneto.
His dad is the one who's doing it.
So he's being used by his dad to control people's minds, and he's basically a tool of the enemy the whole movie. And it's established that Professor X actually cares about this guy. But they don't even mention him. They don't even ask what... Like, he's in the same room as them, right?
Professor X is who they were rescuing.
Yes, they were rescuing Professor X. They get him. They leave the room. This guy, who is handicapped, by the way, he can't move. He's in a wheelchair. They just leave him. They don't even acknowledge his existence. It's hilarious. Like, we were shocked they didn't wrap that up at the end.
They're supposed to be the good guys, and they just leave this dude to be crushed and drowned, and he's like...
and he dies in the dam.
That was the weirdest thing. It seemed so out of character.
I mean, X2's fun. I know a lot of people like it, and I like most of it, but the ending is just...
The ending is
awful. Yes. Let's do this one now. The Last Stand.
Oh.
This is the one a lot of people hate, and I can see why. I don't know. The choices that they make for their characters in this film make very little sense. We have another similar case of a character just going missing and no one caring in Scott.
Scott dies.
Scott dies and no one even asks for a long time until Logan's like, hey, where's Scott, by the way? Like, it's so weird.
It kind of feels like a whole lot didn't happen in the middle.
Yeah.
I can't remember what happened.
It's bad. I don't know. It's not...
It's...
Honestly, I did not hate the finale. I thought the finale was pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Like, I think Dark Phoenix is interesting in this. You know, she's more interesting when she's evil than when she's good, I would say. Yeah.
It's still very campy, and there's a lot of annoying stuff in the middle of the film. So, I don't know. What would you rate it? C? D?
I don't think it's much worse than X2.
Okay. So, C. So, next in... order of release, I believe, is X-Men Origins of Wolverine.
Oh boy. That goes to the Shadow Realm. It goes straight to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah? You think it's worthy of the Shadow Realm?
Horrid. Oh my word.
Oh my goodness. This film was everything I hoped it would be. Because I'd heard previously to watching all these films that this was one of the worst ones. Even the people involved hated it. It has some of the most hilarious
Oh
lines
my goodness.
in the whole series of X-Men films.
All the one-liners. They're exactly what you would predict them to be. It's hilarious.
She was predicting the
Yeah.
entire movie as it was happening. This was our first time watching it ever. And she was just like, oh. And then immediately after, they would say the same thing.
Yeah.
It was great.
There were so many stupid, convoluted things. Like, none of the other characters were interesting.
I thought it was just so ridiculous how many times in the finale they reveal, oh, but actually, the whole time I was on this person's side. Oh, but actually, I planned this from the beginning. It was just, it was hilarious.
And plus, doesn't it not match up with the canon?
Oh, well, at the end, Professor X is walking. So this is the other thing about these films. The timeline is so muddled and crazy and out of whack that you really have to just ignore it and watch the films independently, because aside from the original trilogy, nothing makes sense. It's ridiculous. Okay, so next in order of release is going to be X-Men First Class.
Yeah, so this one, I don't... It's more of a prequel because I don't think it messes with the timeline of the original trilogy at all.
Yeah.
I don't think it does.
The only issue is that he's in a wheelchair by the end of this one, establishing that that's how he loses his legs. But then in X-Men Origins Wolverine, which takes place after this film, he is shown to be walking.
Yeah.
So, doesn't make much sense.
They do try to retcon that, maybe?
In Days of Future Past, with the serum.
With the serum, but...
Yeah. Implying that he can sometimes have his legs and sometimes not. He just chooses. The movie itself, X-Men First Class, I thought it was really fun, and it was... I don't know. This was a weird movie because there were some things that were really refreshingly good in it. Some really polished scenes and some, like, really fun action stuff that happens in it. But the writing is still not that great.
No.
I don't know. It's just kind of bad. It's cool, I guess, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Like the whole, I don't know, Luke, I don't really like the montages and...
Yeah, no, the montages are horrible in this one. It's like if you were trying to do a wedding montage and you used all the special effects that you could for all the transitions. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Do you remember the weird, like, split screen?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yep.
not a good choice.
And the other thing is there's quite a few characters that mean very little in this.
Yeah.
Like, you know that they're expendable, and they are, and they just,
Like the screaming kid that flies by screaming.
Yeah, what is
What
that?
is
What
that?
is that about? That was so ridiculous. So where are we putting First Class?
I'd put it in B, probably. It's
B?
probably not any more silly than the first X-Men film, as far as campiness goes.
There's some scenes I really like in this one, but there's
Yeah.
just a lot of crap in it, too.
What do you think of Mystique? Jennifer Lawrence versus the other girl.
I mean, Jennifer Lawrence is pretty great in First Class. She's not, like, amazing,
I feel like the
but...
character is very different. And of course, when they change the timeline, she's kind of a different person at the end of it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, she has a lot more character in First Class, but
Yeah.
she really shines in Days of Future Past, I think. So next on the ticket is The Wolverine, and this was another standalone Wolverine film, and it focused on trying to redeem X-Men Origins, I feel like. Because everybody wants standalone Wolverine films, right?
Yeah.
And X-Men Origins was the first real one they got, and it was horrible. And so they were like, okay, let's make a real good one now, guys. I don't know. It
Started out pretty well. I liked it until
Yep.
they put that romance in there, and I was like, wait, what?
The girl that Wolverine is traveling with to hide from the bad guys is a lot younger than him. And I know that he doesn't age technically, so it's like, it doesn't look
Yeah.
as weird as it is, but like, she's really, really young.
Up to this point, it seemed more like a fatherly protector role until suddenly they were kissing, and it was like, ooh, that's
Yeah, it
a
almost
little
felt
weird.
like Logan a little bit. People are taking advantage of this girl, and he's trying to protect her and save her. And it felt really good up until they pull that romance stuff. And I'm like, okay, hold on. The whole conflict in his head, this whole movie, is Jean. He's trying to
Yeah.
deal with Jean being dead. And he's having visions of her like every other scene. And then he's just totally chill with kissing on this other girl. Like, really?
I think
That
the
was
story
bad. That was
started
so
to
bad.
fall apart when they started going that direction, and then the ending, it kind of, I don't know.
The ending feels like a much worse version of the ending of Iron Man 1. A lot of people like Iron Man, but they never talk about the finale when they talk about Iron Man, because it's a very, like, big, bad, more evil, robot-y
And to
version
be
of
fair,
the main character.
The
with
Silver
zero,
Samurai
you know,
is not the
I don't
worst
know.
part of that finale, because you kind
No.
of they set him up.
Yeah,
they set him up well.
they do
That's
set him up.
fine.
It looks very cheesy,
The
for
archer
one.
dude that the girl was originally supposed to like have
Oh, yeah.
connection with, I felt like that was
That's the
poorly
thing,
handled.
is like, he was interested in the girl that is traveling with Logan.
Because they grew up together.
Yeah, and so they have a connection. And then by the end of the film, you expect Arrow Man to come and take her away and sweep her off her feet. But no, he's still...
with the bad guys.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, is there was like 2 or 3 different factions, and they were all kind of evil. Because
Yep.
you had her dad,
You have Viper from Valorant incarnate, like, in a film.
Yeah.
You had her, and she was kind of doing her
don't know
own
what
thing.
her motivation is. She's working for the Silver Samurai, but she's also like independently evil. And then you have the grandfather, who's
Yep.
like...
He actually has, like, the most depth out of all of them.
Yeah.
Because he has a background with Logan. And they kind of cheat by doing the flashback thing, and they establish all of what's important about him in a flashback. You can kind of predict the twist ending where he's alive, he just wants to live forever, now he's the bad guy. But, like, instead of having some kind of nice closure to this interaction that Logan had back in the war, he just ends up being a bad guy that's really expendable, and Wolverine just gets him, and I don't know. It's so contrived by the end, and like he has some depth. He has like some setup, but and so many villains in this just go by the wayside. There's so many of them, and it tries to kind of focus on each one of them, but none of them are really interesting. It's kind of like the Spider-Man 3 syndrome, I guess.
I guess you can't fault them too much because everyone kind of was as they seemed. Like, her dad was evil. And I kind of wish that they had done a twist where he's not also a bad guy. Like, there's too many villains.
Yeah.
There's too many people who, I don't know, I wish had more depth to them. I like Yuki a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I liked the way that the movie was set up, but I don't think the execution was good at the end.
Yeah. So where are we putting this one? I'd say B, probably.
Probably B. I would almost put it in A.
B, but...
I would almost put it in A. I mean, I think it's better.
I mean, if we're comparing them to each other...
Yeah, it's less campy than a lot of the other films.
Let's just keep it in B for now.
Yeah.
So, okay, the next one is Days of Future Past. I don't think this is that bad of a film. Like, to be fair, the timeline is completely screwed up. It's so bad. They're really trying to retcon a lot of stuff here and make up for past mistakes. It still doesn't work. There's no way to make it work. And even with the retcons, it's kind of muddled and crazy. But if you ignore the timeline problems and just focus on it as a standalone film, it is really entertaining. I thought it was one of the best directed, one of the best looking X-Men films in the whole series. Like, it was a lot of fun, but...
That's probably true. So this is the one where in the future they're being murdered by the robots, right?
Yeah, they send Logan's mind.
Yeah, so
back in time.
the only problem I had with this film, I think, was like the time travel stuff. The way that they handle time travel is sloppy.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's very sloppy. It's the kind of time travel that's very in the moment, like whatever's on screen is what's important.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really think about how time travel actually works. It's not Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter. No spoilers for that, by the way, but the way it works in Harry Potter is from the very beginning of the movie to the very end, nothing is retconned, nothing's redone. It's all happening in the background the same way that they have to go back and like fix stuff at the very end of the film. So it's kind of cool in that sense, how it all lines up, it all works. There's just one timeline and they don't have to mess with anything. There's no branching timelines that go off in a million directions. But in Days of Future Past, they send Logan's mind back in time to fix the past, to make it so their future never happened. In which case, how are they here? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And the only way to explain it is with the parallel universes theory and just some movie magic, but I don't know.
Which, to be fair, they're not the only franchise to ever do that. Like, a lot of people will treat time travel loosely. I guess for what the film is, it's not trying to be all heady with time travel.
No, it's definitely
just
not.
trying to be,
It's just trying to be a really good time. If you're just there to have a good time, it works pretty well.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun. I don't know. I would give it an A. In comparison to the other films, definitely an A.
Yeah.
So, Apocalypse. This is so bad. I was shocked at how bad this was. Like, I've heard X-Men Origins Wolverine is bad. I've heard that The Last Stand is bad. Apocalypse was just horrible. The villain is bad. He has no depth. He's just
super evil.
He's just super evil and has been around forever. The characters
character choices
make so little sense.
No.
It's just absurd. It's so obvious that they wanted to like have their cool moments with the characters that they want. They do that at the cost of everything else in the film. Like, it's just...
Well, this is the one that completely destroys the previous timelines.
Yep.
Completely destroys the
It
previous
kind of throws
timelines.
everything out the window.
Because you have Storm in Egypt, who's completely out of character. Like, we know her as one of the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
She joins Apocalypse for no reason, and she's fine with her city, Cairo, just being razed and all her little friends just dying.
Immediately upon meeting Apocalypse, she just turns to his side with no hesitation and is totally fine with his plan to completely destroy the entire world, including all her friends and everyone else
Which
in
he
Cairo.
does, by the way. They are all dead at the end of the film.
Definitely
her
dead.
little band of children.
Absolutely dead. And she's fine with it. I was certain that they would explain it later with mind control. Like, oh, Apocalypse just controls your mind. Like Loki in Avengers. He can just tap his staff on you and now you're mind controlled. But no, at the end of the film, Storm, she chooses to just turn on him and save the day and help out to kill him.
Well, because the way they set that up is that she looks up to Mystique because Mystique is like this great hero, and then she sees, oh, she's fighting on the good guy's side. I guess I should be fighting on the good guy's side too because she's my hero.
It's so bad. It's just horrible.
Yeah. They had the one lady with like the laser sword. Like there's nothing to her character.
Anything.
We don't care about her.
No.
I forget. Oh,
the bad guys.
Remember the angel boy?
Oh my word! Yes, he gets metal wings.
That was so weird.
It's ridiculous. They look like an emo band.
Yeah.
The bad guys, they unironically look like a bunch of cosplayers trying to be all edgy at a Comic-Con. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Magneto is fine.
Magneto's okay, but the problem is that they do so much destruction. He's never been established to have this much control.
Yeah.
He gets all the metal out of the ground and the earth and all the buildings in the entire world.
They do show
Apocalypse
buffing Storm's powers, and
they
show him buffing
true.
People's powers, so I guess that's
you're right. He does buff their powers a bit, but
I don't know why.
I mean, we don't know how that works.
Yeah, that's just so many things that are just... and plus it wrecks the previous timelines because we've got Nightcrawler here now.
Yep.
Previously, he wasn't introduced until later in their lives. Their younger versions of Jean and Scott are kind of not the greatest.
It's just bad. It's such a bad movie. I would put
it in D, probably.
I'd do F. I think F is...
Yeah, you think that's fair?
Yeah.
I would either do D or F. Is there no E tier?
No.
Why not?
Because there's no E grade.
Oh. I guess not. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Now, the last film is Logan. And
he goes in the S tier.
That's gonna be S tier, I think, because it's the perfect film for the X-Men series. I love this film so much. It is absolutely amazing in its direction, in the cinematography, in the relationship between Logan and Laura. And the dynamic between Professor X and Logan is great as well. Like, it hits all the right points.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination. The villains are kind of cliche a little bit. They don't have the most depth to them.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff with mutant children that Laura knows, and they don't receive hardly any fleshing out. They're just kind of...
They're not there until the end of the film.
So there's some, not as strong aspects of it. Yeah. But overall, Logan is just so much fun. It's got a perfect balance of the family ties with Professor X, Logan, and Laura, and their little makeshift family.
That poor other dude that no one cares about. Remember him? The vampire dude. I don't remember what
the
his
mutant
power.
tracker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just this poor man.
Yeah, I mean, like, they do a good job with him. Like, I thought he was a more believable character than so many of the main characters in the other films.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. It reminds me a little bit of No Country for Old Men somehow. Just some of the vibes remind me of that just because of, like, the atmosphere. And then the bleakness, I guess it reminds me of that because both films are very bleak.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Logan has a lot more humor in it. And Logan has a lot more of a sort of a revitalizing of the myth of the superhero. Logan's the hero at the end. And it's almost like a Western in that sense. I've heard people compare it to that before.
Yeah.
Or like a samurai film. I forget what it's called, but there's a samurai film with the samurai and a child traveling, and that's kind of what The Mandalorian is also based on as well. I'll put the title. I'll put the title here. It even has a Western right in the middle of the film to tell us the theme of the film and what Logan is going through the whole time, and it's really effective.
This one's far more gritty than the other ones, probably because it's rated R.
Yeah, it is. It's the only rated R film in this whole series.
Might be the only one that Logan's in where they don't have him. I can't remember. Or they don't have him running around naked because, oh my word, every other film, with like one exception,
That's true.
they use that. It's so weird.
Yep. At some point, he's naked, whether it's because he's in a machine that's giving him his skeleton, or whether it's him like being experimented on in Apocalypse,
Or just running out into the snow.
Just running out into the snow at the They don't show anything. It's PG-13.
It's PG-13, but still, it's like, why?
Like, you see,
because he's huge jacked man.
Yeah, he's huge jacked man. That's why they do it. Absolutely love Logan, personally. And I think it's far and away the best X-Men film on this list. Any other things we would change after the fact, do you think?
I don't know.
I think this is a pretty good list.
I think that's kind of where they belong. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate.
They had a couple decent films and some really, really bad ones.
Yeah.
And the rest are kind of just,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, they're films.
They made them.
Yeah, I mean,
We
we had a lot of fun watching them. By far the best ones to watch were Logan, because it was just so engaging and so much fun. X-Men Origins Wolverine for just the super predictable scripts, the hilarious
stupidity.
One-liners, and the
goodness.
ridiculous reveals at the end.
Your favorite line.
Yes, my favorite line in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Cuckoo, cuckoo, got screwed.
Yeah.
I had a really good time watching the first two. Absolutely. X1 and X2 I think were really fun as well, just because how campy they are. Oh, do you remember the line? Do you know what happens to a toad when it gets struck by lightning? Same thing that happens to everything else.
That was so bad.
It's great.
So bad.
But the worst ones to watch, I think, were Apocalypse, because it was just so frustrating and so boring the whole time. It was awful. And then Last Stand, because there's a lot of weird stuff and character stuff that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
The ending of X2 is hard to watch.
Yeah, it's just stupid. It's just
so bad.
You get to the end and you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What? Oh, the other thing. Okay, so maybe we just missed the scene where Professor X is alive. We totally didn't understand why he was alive again at the in The Wolverine. Remember at the end he shows up at the airport and he's alive. Okay, so he's been just eviscerated in The Last Stand.
Yep.
And I guess there was a scene there that we missed. That he had a twin brother that was comatose. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And then
that
at the end, like
weird.
he takes over the body. Also wasn't aware that happened. And then it seemed from our point of view that he's just alive again with no explanation. What? I feel like they did not show you adequately what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Another recurring issue with these films is that they just make up powers along the way. Yeah. The powers are so loosely defined, and they can just
with Ellen Page's characters, she can go through walls, and suddenly in Days of Future Past, she can send people back through time.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we didn't know about that before.
But I don't even know what these powers have to do with each other, and that she has.
Yeah, and the thing is, they kind of put restrictions on them as the plot needs them. Yeah. Like at the end of X2, where Jean can apparently not control the plane from inside, but she has to go outside to control it. But she can only control it in range of being killed by the dam. But even though she's killed by the dam, it's still being controlled in the air and they're able to fly away.
But yeah, the other thing is that she's never had to see things to be able to move them before, I don't think.
They put a lot of restrictions on these powers when it's convenient to the plot, and they take a lot of restrictions away when it's convenient for the plot. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to really have a grasp on who can do what. And that's why it's more interesting to see a film like Logan, where it's very grounded. You can you know exactly what Logan's powers are.
You know what the rules are, basically.
Yeah, and you know that he has a healing factor. You know that he has the cause. You know that his healing factor is getting lesser and lesser over time. The mutant tracker can track mutants. That's his whole thing. You know, Professor X can freeze people in place. It never goes out of its way to just Deus Ex Machina our characters out of a situation via powers. Films like, I don't know, the rest of them don't really do that as much. And that makes for some much less tension than there could be.
I don't know if we'll watch any of them again besides maybe Logan.
Yeah, probably not. But
probably Wolverine Origins is a good one to show you.
Yeah, Origins is a good, so bad it's good movie. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think that's true.
That's going to be it from us today. Hope you guys enjoyed, and be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I said enjoy twice, didn't I?
Make sure you enjoy what you enjoy when you enjoy the enjoyment.
Yeah. We're going to be making more normal reviews that we usually do, and I also have some very long, in-depth analysis videos that are going to be coming out as well.
Video essays.
So expect those. Yeah. I'm doing one for Tenet right now. It's going to be pretty long and pretty detailed. Adios.